Hi, I'm Kristin Amdahl. In today's video, I want to show you how to make some really pretty and very unusual combinations of memory wire bracelets. They're super quick and easy, and they're great for last-minute gifts. Here are a few different varieties of memory wire bangle bracelets. I've got a single strand with a rice bead. I've got a multi-strand here with seed beads. And this one has some dangles on the end for decoration. This one I used cube beads. This is my favorite. I wear this one all the time. And then you can also stripe it, where what I did on this one is I changed the combination of beads. This is just a solid strand of the sparkly bead, and then I alternated it in the center strand with another bead, and then went back to the original here. If you wanted, you could really make this with contrasting beads so it really looked very much striped or like you had separate bangles stacked. In this one, I alternated 3 beads that were in similar color family, but some are shiny and some are matte. And then in this one, I changed the sequence, not the sequence, I changed the number of beads in the sequence. It always went from the large round bead to the medium rice bead to the small seed bead, but what I did was change the number. So I'll show you where I started on this one. I started with 1 of seed A, 2 of seed B, 1 of bead A, 2 of bead B, 3 of bead C, and then 4 of bead A. And so what that means is that I had 1, 2, 3, 4 quantity, but with only 3 beads, so as you go, it will always change the sequence. So then we go 1, so it's beads A, B, C, but in number sequence 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So then we go to 1, 2, 3, 4 is now in a different bead combination. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the only way to make that work is if your number sequence, 1, 2, 3, 4 or 1, 2, 3, is different than the number of different beads you're using. So let's say you wanted to do 1, 2, 3, you would either use 4 beads or 2 beads. You wouldn't want to use 3 beads, otherwise it'll end up being a pattern, a very recognizable pattern. And you can see it really doesn't look, you really can't see the pattern. But it is patterned, which is easier for me than random, because random, I'm afraid of making a pattern by mistake in random. Okay, so what we're going to need to get started today is some memory wire, which comes as a coil like this, looks kind of like a slinky, and you're going to need a few tools. We're going to need a pair of regular pliers, we're going to need a pair of round nose pliers, and we're going to need a pair of memory wire cutters. This is different than regular wire cutters because memory wire has been tempered, which means it's a lot harder than regular wire. So you're going to need an extra hard set of wire cutters in order to be able to cut through it. If you use your regular ones, you could very easily damage them or break them. So you want to make sure you use the right tool so that you don't break anything. And then you're going to choose an assortment of beads. You can use all of the same kind, a combination of beads, combination of colors, combinations of shiny and matte. I mean, it really is endless. And when deciding how big you want your bracelet to be, you are going to decide, let's say for example, this one is a 5-strand bangle bracelet. You would want to count out 5 strands, or a single, or one that has 3 strands. You want to count how many strands and cut it from your big section of memory wire. I want to do a 3-strand bracelet today. So what we're going to do is count from the beginning. This would be 1, 2, and 3. And then at that point, we want to cut it with about an inch or 2 overlap. You don't want it to end right at the same spot as the beginning. So we've got our 3rd strand here, and I'm just going to count up a little over an inch, grab my memory wire cutters, and give it a little snip, like that. Okay, so now we have our 3-strand bracelet ready to begin. We're going to take our round nose pliers now, and working against the curve, like it curves that way, so I'm going to grab it by the tip and roll in the opposite direction to make our first stopper. Okay, and I'll show you what that looks like. It's now a totally round stopper on the end, and that means the beads will be secure once I string them on. I thought it would be interesting to show you how to do this type of a bracelet where we change the sequence of each different type of bead differently so that it's a pattern that doesn't look like a pattern. Obviously you could pick one bead or two beads and make any sort of pattern you want, and that's really simple, but I thought in order to teach you something different, I'll teach you how to do a pattern that doesn't look like a pattern. I can't think of a more exciting way to say it, but as a person that likes to think in patterns, I thought it would be really interesting to try to make something look random even though it is a pattern. So what I'm going to do to make this simple is use 3 different types of rice beads, which is a very easy to string bead. It's almost like a cylinder or a rectangle. I'll show them up to you up close. Like that, and what I'll do is use 3 different ones, and we'll call the amethyst colored one that's very chrome shiny, we'll call that one A, we'll call the moonstone looking one that's flat B, and we'll call the peachy gold one C. So we're going to start with a count of 1 and 2, and we'll do 1 of the first one. We'll put them in order so that you don't forget which one comes first, which one comes second, and which one comes third. I found I got confused a little bit on this bracelet because I forgot which order they were in. So we've got 1 bead and then 2 beads. You just want to string them on. It really is that simple. You just line up the hole and slide it on. That one isn't drilled all the way through. I'm afraid you're going to find that every now and then, and when you do, there's nothing that can be done about it really. They're glass, so you don't want to really push too hard. You're just going to have some that go in the garbage. So 2 of the second one, then we'll go back to our 1 count, so 1 of the third one. 1 and then 2 beads. And then 1. And then 2. And then 1. And you could really get elaborate in your counts. And if you do, I suggest writing it down so you don't forget, because as much as you want to make it a pattern, want it to look random, writing it down so you don't forget will help it to look more random. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, we'll go back to 1. And then 2. And I don't know about you, but if you're on the fence about wearing glasses at times, this is definitely a time that you might want glasses even if you don't normally wear glasses. I find that I only wear my glasses for very close-up work. I am considering getting a stronger pair just for when I'm stringing beads. Especially, for example, doing the seed beads. Oh my gosh, I could have really used a much stronger pair of glasses for that. So that's going on the list this week. Okay, I think we've got another one that's not drilled all the way through here. Turn it over and see if that helps. Oh, yep, it was just me. Okay, so 1, 2, we'll go back to 1. 2 and 1, 2. Wow, I'm getting lucky in lining them up in my fingers to slide 2 at the same time. That's something. Okay, when you get quite a few on, you might want to start sliding it down to the end. And so you want to make sure that the sharp point that's not been rounded, that stays on top of your left thumb as you slide everything else around. There. Okay, we're almost around 1 revolution or 1 strand of our bracelet. Where did we end up now? Let's see. Okay, we ended on 1 peach, so we'll go to 2 amethyst. And 1 of the moonstone looking bead, and 2 of the peach. All right, so I think you get the point here of what we're doing, so why don't you go ahead and finish your homework while I finish mine. We'll get this strung all the way up to about 1/2 inch remaining, and I'll show you how to finish it off. All right, we've got only a little bit left of the memory wire here, so I want to take my round nose pliers and starting at the very end, grab them firmly and roll back. Okay, and now you have your bracelet finished. Notice how we did a much simpler pattern for this one, so it's not going to look as random as the one that was a little more elaborate. This was 3 beads in a sequence of 1, 2, 3, 4, and this one was 3 beads in a sequence of 1, 2. Imagine though, you could add any combination of beads, and as long as your number sequence is different than your number of beads, you can create a pattern that makes something look random. You could have so much fun with this. Please send me your photos and let me see what kind of patterns you come up with. I can't wait to see it. And just make sure that you stay within your budget in your beads. There are so many pretty beads out there. They don't have to all be gemstones. They don't all have to be Swarovski. You can find something pretty in every price range. The most important part is to just get started and have fun. Do want to show you one mistake fail bracelet. I thought this was going to be gorgeous because of the colors being all goldy and sparkly. This one I ended up using beads that were too heavy, and look at how horribly it stretched out. So one thing you want to keep in mind is try to stay with lighter beads. Otherwise, you could overextend the strength of the memory wire and stretch it out. So you want to stick with smaller beads. They don't all have to be seed bead size, but I would stick with smaller beads in getting started. Like these aren't too heavy. This one turned out fine as well. So once again, show me what you make. I can't wait to see what you come up with. These are memory wire bracelets. They make great last minute gifts, and now I have to figure out which one I'm giving to my mom at dinner tonight. Talk to you later.